I remember the day I first met Sarah Khan like it was yesterday. I was sitting outside a small cafe after work when she walked in and said, "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" I looked up and shook my head. "No, it's free, you can sit." She smiled lightly and sat across from me. "Long day?" she asked. I laughed. "Yeah, you could say that." That simple moment changed everything for me. I didn't know she would become the center of my life. We started talking like we had known each other for years. "What do you do?" she asked. "I work in real estate, small deals, nothing big yet," I said. She tilted her head. "Sounds boring but stable." "I like stable people." I smiled without thinking much. That night I walked home thinking about her voice. I didn't know why, but I wanted to see her again. And I did. Days turned into meetings and meetings turned into something deeper. "Arjun," she said one evening, "you are different from other guys I met." I looked at her. "Different how?" She leaned forward. "You don't pretend you are rich or flashy. You feel real." I didn't know what to say, so I just said, "I just work hard, that's all." She nodded slowly. "That's rare these days." That was the beginning. After that, she started becoming part of my routine. I would meet her after work almost every day. "You should eat properly, Arjun," she would say. "I do eat," I replied once, laughing. "No, you don't, you live like a machine," she said seriously. I started smiling more because of her. Slowly, I realized I was falling in love. One night I told her, "Sarah, I want something serious in life, not just dating." She looked at me for a long time. "What do you mean?" she asked. "I mean marriage, building a home, real future," I said. She didn't answer immediately. Then she said softly, "I want that too, Arjun, but only if it's secure." I nodded. "I am working for that." And I meant it. Over the next year, I worked harder than ever. I bought a small property on the edge of the city. It was not big, but it was mine. One evening I took Sarah there. "This is it," I said proudly. She looked around. "It's small but nice." I laughed. "It will become better with time." She held my hand. "We will build it together, right?" I felt warm inside. "Yes," I said, "together." My brother Rashid was not convinced. "Arjun, I don't trust her," he said one night. I frowned. "You don't even know her properly." He sighed. "She is too smooth." "Stop judging her," I snapped. He shook his head. "I just hope you are not wrong." I ignored him. Because I trusted Sarah more than anyone. I thought love meant trust without limits. One evening she said something that stayed in my mind. "Arjun, we should secure our future properly." I looked at her. "What do you mean?" She smiled gently. "Put the property in both our names." I blinked. "Both names?" She nodded. "Yes, it's safer for us. Love should be practical too." I paused. "I worked for this alone, Sarah." She touched my hand. "I know, but we are together now." I looked into her eyes and felt trapped between love and logic. "Do you not trust me?" she asked softly. That hit me hard. "I do," I said quickly. "I do trust you." She smiled. "Then what's the problem?" I stayed silent. My mind was screaming, but my heart was louder. "Okay," I finally said, "we will do it." She hugged me. "You are making the right choice, Arjun." I closed my eyes. I felt like I just secured my future. But I didn't know I was opening the door to my downfall. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about her words. "Secure future," she said. It sounded right, but something inside me felt uneasy. I whispered to myself, maybe Rashid is overthinking. The next morning I met him again. "Did you think about what I said?" he asked. "Yes, I did," I replied. "And?" I trust her. He shook his head. Love is blinding you. I remember the morning Sarah came to me with that calm smile. Arjun, we should finalize the property papers properly, she said while pouring tea for me. I looked at her. We already did the basic paperwork. She shook her head, sitting beside me. Yes, but this is for security and marriage planning. Everything should be clean before we start our new life. I smiled. You are thinking too much. She leaned closer. I am thinking about us. That line made me silent. Trust me, she added softly, this will protect both of us. I nodded slowly. Okay, if you think it's needed. She smiled like she had already won something. That day, she brought the documents herself. No lawyer? I asked while taking the papers. She laughed lightly. Arjun, it's just internal adjustment, not a court war. I relaxed. Fine. I signed where she pointed. Here, and here, she guided my hand. You are making it so complicated, I joked. It's important, she said quickly. I didn't notice her tone changing slightly. At that time, I didn't think anything was wrong. I trusted her completely. Too completely. A few days later, I started noticing small changes in her behavior. She stopped answering my calls quickly. One evening I called her. Where were you? I asked. Busy with wedding planning, she replied. Her voice felt different. Wedding planning? Alone? I asked. Yes, I needed some space, she said. Something in her tone felt cold. But I ignored it. Because I didn't want doubt in my mind. At home, Rashid noticed it first. You look stressed, he said. I'm fine, I replied. He narrowed his eyes. Sarah is changing things too fast. I frowned. Stop judging her again. He sighed. Arjun, I am serious. She is planning our future, I said. Rashid leaned forward, or controlling it. I stood up, angry. You don't understand her. He shook his head. I hope you understand her one day. I left the room. But his words stayed with me. Sarah started calling less. But when she did, she was always busy. One night I asked her, are we okay? She paused. Of course we are. You feel distant, I said. I'm just focused, she replied. On what exactly? She laughed lightly. On us, Arjun. Don't overthink. But I could feel something was wrong. Still, I said nothing. Because I was scared of losing her. I came back to the house expecting normal silence. But the moment I opened the door, I felt something was wrong. Sarah was sitting in the living room, calm, too calm. Arjun, she said without looking up, we need to talk. I placed my bag down slowly. About what? She slid a file across the table. About this. I frowned and picked it up. My eyes scanned the pages. And then my mind stopped. What is this? I asked. She finally looked at me. Ownership transfer documents. My heart slowed. This is not possible. She stood up. It is very possible. I shook my head. No, I signed for joint ownership. She smiled faintly. You signed what I gave you. My fingers tightened on the paper. Sarah, explain this properly. She crossed her arms. You no longer own this property, Arjun. For a second, I couldn't even breathe. What did you just say? She repeated it slowly. You don't own it anymore. My voice rose. That's impossible. I built this with my own hands. She didn't flinch. Legally, it's mine now. My ears started ringing. I stepped closer. You are joking, right? She shook her head. I am not. Something inside me cracked. You tricked me, I said slowly. She sighed. Don't make this emotional. Emotional? I laughed bitterly. You took my home. She looked away. It was always going to be this way. My hands shook. Why are you doing this? She finally looked at me again. Because I can. That answer destroyed something inside me. The door suddenly opened. Rashid walked in. He looked at both of us and immediately understood something was wrong. What is going on here? He asked sharply. I turned to him. She says I don't own the house anymore. Rashid froze. What? Sarah didn't even hesitate. It's a legal matter. Rashid stepped forward. Legal matter? Arjun built this place. Sarah smiled coldly. And now it's mine. Rashid's face tightened. You manipulated him. She tilted her head. Watch your tone. He laughed in disbelief. You are unbelievable. Sarah walked closer. And you are irrelevant. That hit like a slap. Rashid's voice lowered. You are destroying him. She replied calmly, he allowed it. I stood there silent, feeling my chest burning. Rashid turned to me. Arjun, listen to yourself. She is taking everything. But I couldn't even speak properly. My throat was stuck. Sarah looked at me again. You should leave now. I blinked. Leave? She nodded. Yes. This is my house. Something inside me snapped. This is my house. I shouted. She didn't react. Rashid stepped forward. Sarah, you are crossing every limit. She looked at him like he was nothing. You should take him with you. That was it. I felt like I was not even standing in my own life anymore. I walked outside without realizing it. The air felt heavier than before. Rashid followed me. Arjun, he said softly, come with me. I didn't answer. My mind kept repeating one thing. I lost everything. Rashid touched my shoulder. You are coming home with me. I nodded without thinking. Because I had nowhere else to go. That night at Rashid's house, I sat in silence. He placed water in front of me. Drink, he said. I didn't move. He sat opposite me. Now listen carefully. I looked at him slowly. You were right, I said quietly. His expression softened. That doesn't matter now. I laughed bitterly. It matters to me. Silence filled the room. My chest felt heavy. I gave her everything, I said. Rashid replied, and she took advantage of it. I closed my eyes. I felt angry, but also ashamed. How did I not see this? I whispered. Rashid leaned forward. Because you loved her. That word hurt more than anything. The next morning, I went outside alone. I couldn't stay still. Every step felt like humiliation. People I passed felt like they could see my failure. I stopped walking for a moment. My own home, I whispered. Then I clenched my fists. This is not over. I sat across from Advocate Imran Sheikh, watching him study every page of the documents again and again. His face stayed calm, but his eyes were different now. Sharp. Focused. He finally placed the papers down. This is not normal, he said. My chest tightened. What do you mean? He leaned forward slightly. There are signs of manipulation here. I frowned. Manipulation? Yes, he replied. Either pressure was used, or the content was altered after your signature. My voice dropped. So you are saying I was tricked? He didn't hesitate. Yes. For a moment, I just stared at him. Something inside me shifted. Pain was still there, but now there was something else. Hope. Can we prove it? I asked quickly. He nodded. If we collect the right evidence, yes. I leaned forward. Then let's do it. The next few days felt like a different world. Not my life anymore, but a case. A fight. Imran started guiding me step by step. First, he said, we need the original registration records. I nodded. Okay. Second, we need witnesses who were present during the signing. My mind immediately went to that day. Sarah. Only Sarah. That realization made my stomach twist. We went to the property office together. The clerk looked nervous when he saw us. I need full file history, Imran said calmly. The clerk avoided eye contact. Sir, that file is already processed. Imran leaned forward. We are investigating a dispute. The clerk swallowed hard and walked away. I whispered, he is hiding something. Imran nodded slightly. Yes. After a long wait, we got partial records. Imran flipped through them slowly. Then he stopped. This is interesting, he said. What? I asked quickly. He pointed. The signature verification stamp is inconsistent. I frowned. What does that mean? It means it may not have been properly verified, he said. My heart started beating faster. So it was fake? I asked. He looked at me. We still need proof. But it's suspicious. That word stayed in my mind. Suspicious. Not impossible. Not hopeless. Suspicious. Later that day, I met Mr. Farouk. The property dealer. The man who handled everything when I first bought the land. I found him at his small office. He smiled when he saw me. Arjun Beta, long time. I didn't smile back. I need to ask you something, I said. His smile faded slightly. What is it? I placed the documents on his desk. Do you remember these? He glanced at them. Yes, of course. I watched his face closely. Did Sarah ever come here alone? I asked. His eyes flickered. No. I don't think so, he said quickly. I leaned forward. Think carefully. He laughed nervously. Why are you asking this? My voice hardened. Just answer. He shifted in his chair. Maybe she visited once or twice. Imran, standing behind me, spoke calmly. We are recording statements. That changed everything. Farouk's expression tightened. I don't remember clearly, he said quickly. I felt anger rising. You are lying, I said. He shook his head. No, no. I am just confused. Imran stepped closer. Confusion in legal matters becomes liability. Farouk swallowed. I just did paperwork, he finally said. I stared at him. So you didn't verify anything properly? He avoided my eyes. It was all standard process. That answer told me everything. Careless. Or hiding something. That night, I went home to my brother's place. Aisha was there. She looked at me the moment I entered. You look exhausted, she said softly. I sat down. I am. She brought me tea and sat beside me. Imran uncle told me what is happening, she said. I nodded slowly. Aisha looked at me carefully. You are doing the right thing, Arjun. I looked at her. Am I? She didn't hesitate. Yes. I sighed. I feel like I lost everything. She shook her head. You lost trust. Not yourself. That hit deeper than I expected. I stayed quiet. She added, Sarah was never your world. You just made her one. I closed my eyes. Because she was right. I stood outside the courtroom door, my hands clenched so tight my nails hurt my palms. Imran Sheikh stood beside me, calm as always. Don't look at her too much, he said quietly. I nodded, even though my chest was already burning. Then the court officer called out, all rise. My legs moved automatically as I walked inside. And then I saw her. Sarah Khan. Sitting on the other side like she had never destroyed my life. For a second, everything inside me stopped. She looked normal. Calm. Controlled. But when her eyes briefly met mine, she looked away instantly. That small movement gave me relief and pain at the same time. The judge entered. Sit, she said firmly. Judge Nadia Qureshi. Her voice filled the room like steel. My heart beat faster as the case began. Imran stood first. Your Honor, he said clearly, this case is about fraud, manipulation, and illegal transfer of property ownership. Sarah's lawyer immediately stood up. Objection, Your Honor. My client legally owns the property. The plaintiff willingly signed all documents. I felt heat rise in my chest. Willingly. That word felt like poison. But I stayed silent. Imran raised a hand slightly. We will prove otherwise. The judge nodded. Proceed. Imran turned to the documents. He spoke slowly. First, we present the original ownership file. He placed it on the table. Then another file. And here are the updated records submitted later. I watched Sarah carefully. She didn't react. Not even a blink. Imran continued. There is a mismatch in processing dates. The courtroom shifted slightly. I could feel tension building like pressure in the air. Sarah's lawyer stood again. Your Honor, administrative delay is not fraud. Imran replied calmly, we are not claiming delay. We are claiming alteration. That word hit the room hard. Alteration. My fingers tightened again. The judge looked at me. Do you wish to testify? She asked. I stood up slowly. Yes, Your Honor. My voice sounded heavier than I expected. I walked forward. Every step felt like walking through fire. I glanced at Sarah again. She still didn't look at me. Imran asked the first question. When did you sign the documents? I swallowed. At Sarah's request, about 2 months ago. Were you informed of full ownership transfer? No, I said firmly. I was told it was joint ownership. A small movement came from Sarah's side. But she still didn't look at me. Imran continued. Did you have legal representation present? I shook my head. No. Was pressure used? I hesitated. Then I said, emotional pressure, yes. A silence fell in the room. Sarah's lawyer immediately stood. Objection. Emotional interpretation, not fact. The judge raised a hand. Overruled. Continue. Then came Rashid. My brother walked in slowly. He looked straight at Sarah for a second. Then turned to the judge. I am Rashid Malik, he said firmly, and I am the brother of the plaintiff. His voice was steady. I saw my brother being manipulated emotionally over time. Sarah finally looked at him. Just for a second. Rashid continued. She changed after the documents were signed. She became distant, controlling, and pushed him away from his own home. I felt something twist inside me. Not anger this time. Pain. Sarah's lawyer interrupted. Speculation. But Rashid didn't stop. I am not speculating. I am describing what I witnessed. His voice grew stronger. She isolated him. And then she removed him from his own property. Sarah shifted slightly in her seat. That was the first crack I noticed. Then came Mr. Farouk. He walked in nervously, wiping sweat from his forehead. Mr. Farouk. Imran stood. State your role in this transaction. Farouk cleared his throat. I was the property dealer. Did you verify both parties' understanding of ownership terms? Yes. I think so. That hesitation changed everything. Imran stepped closer. You think so? Farouk blinked rapidly. Yes. I did standard procedure. Imran placed the documents in front of him. Then explain this signature mismatch. Farouk leaned forward. His hands started shaking. I don't know. I watched him closely now. He was breaking. I sat in the courtroom again that day, but something felt different in the air. The atmosphere was heavier than before, and I could feel Sarah Khan trying to stay calm on the other side. Advocate Imran Sheikh stood and placed new evidence on the table, his face serious as always. Your Honor, he said, we have phone records that show communication between Sarah Khan and Usman Tariq during the time of document alteration. I felt my chest tighten instantly at the name Usman Tariq because I had never heard it clearly in this context before. Sarah looked at her lawyer briefly but said nothing, her confidence starting to crack slightly. The judge leaned forward and said, Bring Usman Tariq to the stand. A few minutes later a man walked in, nervous and sweating, avoiding eye contact with everyone. I recognized him immediately from old office visits with Sarah, but I never knew his name before. So this is Usman Tariq, the judge asked firmly. Yes, Your Honor, he replied weakly. Imran Sheikh continued, Your phone records show multiple calls during the property transfer period. Explain that. Usman wiped his forehead and said, I was just consulting, nothing illegal. I felt anger rise inside me because everything was starting to connect like pieces of a broken mirror. Sarah finally spoke, Your Honor, this is irrelevant to ownership dispute. But her voice was not as strong as before. The judge narrowed her eyes. This court will decide what is relevant or not. Next witness Zoya Khan was called. My stomach dropped because I knew she was Sarah's closest friend. Zoya walked in slowly, avoiding Sarah's eyes completely. State your name, the judge asked. Zoya Khan, she replied softly. Do you know anything about this property transfer? Silence filled the room for a moment. Zoya looked at Sarah, then down again. I don't know everything, she said, hesitating. Sarah suddenly leaned forward sharply. Zoya, remember what you told me. The judge immediately raised her hand. Enough, no coaching in this courtroom. Zoya swallowed hard and said, I only helped her draft messages, nothing about ownership. That statement hit me hard because it confirmed what I feared, emotional manipulation was real. Imran Sheikh stepped forward again. Your Honor, we have enough pattern evidence now. Sarah's face finally changed slightly, not fully, but enough for me to notice. She was losing control of her story. I looked at her, and for the first time I did not feel love or fear, just clarity growing inside me. This was not just betrayal anymore, it was planning, calculation, and lies. The judge spoke again. We will continue with digital forensic review next hearing. Court is adjourned for today. The hammer struck and everything in the room shifted again. I stood slowly while Sarah remained seated, her hands clenched tightly. As I walked out, I felt her eyes on my back, but this time I did not turn around. Outside, Imran said quietly, This is turning in our favor. I nodded, but my mind was still inside the courtroom replaying everything. Usman Tariq's name kept echoing in my head. So she was connected to him all along. I whispered to myself that this was not just betrayal in love, I was betrayed in everything. That night I could not sleep. Every memory with Sarah now felt like a carefully built lie. I thought about my home, about my trust, about every sign I ignored. Morning came with no peace. Imran called early, "We are close to exposing full fraud." I closed my eyes and replied, "Then let it end. The next hearing will change everything," he added. I stood near the window thinking about how fast my life had turned into a courtroom war. Rashid called me and asked, "Are you okay?" I paused, then said, "I am fighting now." He replied, "Good, because she never deserved your silence." That sentence stayed with me all day. Later I met Imran again to review new findings. He pointed at the timeline showing irregular entries. "This proves coordination between Sarah and Usman." I felt controlled anger, not blind rage. I nodded slowly, understanding that every piece of truth now had weight. The case was no longer just about property, it was about deception at every level. Sarah had built her story carefully, but it was starting to collapse. And I was finally seeing the truth without emotion blocking it. The judge announced final forensic review will be presented next hearing. I stepped out of the courtroom feeling lighter but not free. Imran said, "This is turning into a full exposure case." I looked at him and asked, "How did I not see all this?" He replied, "Because you trusted her." That answer hurt more than anything else. I walked outside the court building, breathing deeply. The world felt different now, less chaotic, more real. But inside me the war was still not over. Sarah had not fallen yet, but she was no longer standing strong. And I knew the next hearing would decide everything. That night I sat alone thinking about everything again. Rashid called and said, "Stay strong, brother." Aisha texted me saying, "You are doing right." For the first time I felt like I was not alone. But my mind kept returning to Sarah's face in court, that moment when she cracked slightly. I knew then the truth was close enough to touch. And I was ready to face whatever came next. The courtroom battle had only begun. But the foundation of Sarah's lies was already shaking beyond repair. I stood at the edge of something bigger than I ever expected. Not just justice but truth. I whispered to myself that this was not about anger anymore, it was about truth and consequences. The truth was finally coming out slowly but surely, and I was ready to face every piece of it. No matter how painful it became, I would not run anymore. I had already lost enough to understand that silence only helps liars win. So I made a promise to myself that I would see this through to the end, no matter what it cost, because I could not lose again anymore. I walked into the courtroom that day, already knowing something big was coming. But I didn't know it would feel like my entire past was getting torn apart in front of me. Sarah Khan was already there when I entered. She didn't look at me at first, but I noticed something I had never seen before. She looked tense. Not confident. Not calm. Just waiting. Advocate Imran Sheikh stood up the moment the judge entered. "All rise." We all stood. The silence felt heavier than usual. Judge Nadia Qureshi sat down and adjusted her glasses. "Proceed," she said firmly. Judge Nadia Qureshi. Imran nodded and turned to the court. "Your Honor, today we will establish the full chain of fraud and the main conspirator behind it." Sarah's lawyer immediately stood up. "Objection, this is speculation." Imran didn't even look at him. "It is not speculation. It is supported by forensic records, call logs, and witness confession." That word, confession, made my stomach tighten. Imran opened a file slowly. "Call Usman Tariq to the stand." The moment the name was spoken, I felt the room shift. A door opened. And he walked in. Usman Tariq. This time, he looked completely different from before. No confidence. No attitude. Just fear. He didn't even look at Sarah. He sat down slowly like his body had given up before his mind did. Imran walked closer. State your role in this case. Usman swallowed hard. I helped in paperwork coordination. Imran raised an eyebrow. Coordination or manipulation? Usman flinched. I was told what to do. Sarah suddenly leaned forward. That's a lie. Her voice cracked slightly. Everyone turned toward her. Even I did. For the first time. I saw her lose control. Imran turned toward her calmly. Let the witness answer. Sarah clenched her fists. Usman avoided eye contact completely. Imran continued. Who instructed you to alter ownership structure? Silence. Then Usman whispered. Sarah Khan. The room froze. I felt my chest stop for a second. My mind went blank. Not because I didn't expect it, but because hearing it was different. Hearing it made it real. Sarah stood up immediately. That's false. Her voice was louder now, but unstable. I never told him to do anything illegal. Imran turned slightly. Then explain the call records. He placed a sheet on the table. Multiple calls. Multiple timestamps. All matching the exact period of document changes. Sarah looked at it. For the first time, she didn't have an answer ready. I stayed seated, but my hands were shaking. Not from fear. From realization. Everything I thought was confusion was actually design. Imran continued. Let's break it down clearly. He pointed at the timeline. Arjun Malik signs documents under emotional pressure. I felt that line hit me again. Emotional pressure. Yes. That was me. Blind. Trusting. Imran continued. Within 48 hours, ownership structure is altered. He looked at Sarah directly now. Without consent verification. Sarah whispered, that's not true. But her voice had no strength anymore. I sat in the courtroom that morning feeling nothing but exhaustion. Not anger anymore. Not fear. Just a strange emptiness like I had already lived through the ending too many times in my head. Sarah Khan sat on the other side, still, but different now. No confidence. No sharp smile. Just silence. And waiting. Advocate Imran Sheikh leaned slightly toward me. Whatever happens now, stay calm, he said quietly. I nodded. But I already was calm. Too calm. Like everything inside me had burned out long ago. The judge entered. All rise. We stood. Then sat again. The room felt heavier than ever. Judge Nadia Qureshi adjusted her papers slowly. Her eyes scanned the courtroom like she already knew the truth but was about to announce it officially. Judge Nadia Qureshi. Then she spoke. This court has reviewed all documents, witness statements, forensic reports, and financial records. Silence tightened around every word. I didn't move. Sarah didn't move either. The judge continued. The evidence clearly establishes a pattern of manipulation, unauthorized document alteration, and fraudulent transfer of property ownership. My heartbeat stayed steady. But something inside my chest felt distant. Like I was hearing someone else's life being described. She turned a page. In particular, the court finds that the defendant knowingly participated in or enabled the alteration of ownership records. That sentence landed heavily. I saw Sarah's fingers tighten slightly. But she still didn't speak. The judge continued in a firm voice. The testimony of Usman Tariq confirms coordination during the execution of document changes. I remembered his face in court. Sweating. Breaking. Telling the truth he had avoided for too long. Usman Tariq. The court also finds, the judge said, that the plaintiff Arjun Malik was misled under emotional and relational pressure into signing documents without proper legal counsel or full disclosure. My name sounded strange in that sentence. Like it belonged to someone else. Rashid Malik. I felt Rashid shift beside me, but I didn't look at him. The judge paused. Then she said the words that changed everything. Therefore, this court rules in favor of the plaintiff. A silence dropped instantly. Even the air felt still. The property in question is hereby restored to Arjun Malik as the rightful owner. I blinked slowly. No reaction came immediately. No relief. No joy. Just understanding. It was over. Legally, it was over. Sarah made a small sound beside me. Barely audible. But I heard it. I turned slightly. For the first time, she didn't look like someone fighting. She looked like someone who had lost everything she was holding on to. The judge continued. The defendant's claim of ownership is hereby dismissed due to proven fraudulent basis. Each word felt final. Each word closed a door. I walked back into my home alone for the first time after everything ended. The key felt heavier in my hand than I remembered. When I opened the door, the air inside was the same, but it didn't feel the same. Nothing did. I stepped in slowly. The floor, the walls, the silence, it all belonged to me again. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like distance. Like I was entering a place I had survived, not a place I lived in. I closed the door behind me and stood there for a long moment. No noise. No arguments. No Sarah. Just silence. I walked deeper inside. Every corner brought a memory I didn't ask for. Her voice in the kitchen. Her footsteps in the hallway. Her smile when I used to believe everything was simple. Now those memories didn't hurt sharply. They just felt far away. Like they belonged to another version of me. I sat down on the couch slowly. The same couch where I once planned a future I thought was real. Now I just stared at the empty room. And breathed. That's all I could do. Later that day, Rashid came to visit. He didn't say much at first. He just looked around the house and nodded. It's yours again, he said. I replied quietly, it always was. He sat next to me. But it doesn't feel like before, he added. I shook my head. No, it doesn't. We stayed silent for a while. Then he said, Sarah's case is everywhere in the news. I closed my eyes for a second. I had seen it too. Headlines. Talks. People discussing it like it was entertainment. But I didn't feel satisfaction. Not even anger anymore. Just nothing. She lost everything she built on lies, Rashid said. I nodded slowly. But I didn't win anything either, I said. He looked at me. What do you mean? I paused. I just got back what I already had. Silence again. Rashid didn't argue. Because he understood. Later that night, Aisha called me. Are you okay now? She asked softly. I leaned back. I don't know what okay means anymore, I replied honestly. She stayed quiet for a second. Then she said, You sound different. I gave a small laugh. Maybe I am. She didn't push. She just said, You did the right thing. I looked around the room. I don't know if right feels like this, I said. After the call, I walked through the house again. Everything was where it used to be. But I wasn't the same person who lived here before. That version of me, the one who trusted blindly, felt like a stranger now. I stopped near the window. The city looked normal outside. People living, laughing, fighting, loving. Like nothing had changed. But my world had changed completely. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. And permanently. I thought about Sarah. Not the courtroom version. Not the broken version. The earlier one. The one I met in a cafe. The one who smiled like she understood me. And for the first time, I didn't feel pain thinking about her. Just acceptance. Whatever we had, it was real to me. But it didn't survive reality. Maybe it was never meant to. Days passed slowly. Life didn't rush to become normal again. It just continued. Imran called me once. The legal process is still ongoing for her side cases, he said. I replied, I'm done with it. And I meant it. I didn't want more courtrooms. No more arguments. No more remembering. One evening, I sat outside alone. The sky was turning dark. I thought about everything I had lost. Then I thought about what I still had. My home. My name. My truth. And myself. It didn't feel like a happy ending. But it felt real. I whispered to myself, I survived it. Not loudly. Not proudly. Just truth. Somewhere deep inside, I knew something important. I didn't get revenge. I didn't destroy anyone. I just saw the truth fully, and didn't look away anymore. That was enough. I stood up and went back inside. I didn't turn the past off. I didn't erase it. But I stopped living inside it. And for the first time in a long time. That felt like peace.